I think Mark would second me on this, but we're trying to get his avant-garde as go-go, man. Because what made me want to do this project was going on YouTube and just, because I left DC '82. I kind of kept up with where the music was through my nephews till they graduated from college in the '90s, for real. So I caught up on kind of the last 12, 13 years, or the last of the '90s, really, on YouTube. And I saw Mickey, I saw my man Smoke from the Northeast Groovers, and I was listening to the way they were improvising and the way they were using sonic effects, and the language they had developed in terms of sound and in terms of rhythm. It's like, if you want to talk about avant-garde, being ahead of like where everybody else is in music, nobody else on the planet is doing what these cats are doing with the congas. They've turned the congas into a new instrument, which is what I know from Mingus talking about. That's what jazz musicians did, with all the instruments of the orchestra. They created new instruments from the old. They've done this with percussion, and so we're following them. But in terms of what we do, if you'd heard the really, not just the complete concert tonight, but all the music we developed, you would have heard like all the flavors, you know what I mean? And still with that pulse and that groove and that connection, being established and made, that the call and response was all there, So, music is water. It's fluid. It's so fluid. It can go, in any direction and into any tributary, you know what I mean? And they all draw from one another. And the thing that I love about what we do, what we've been able to do with these guys is that, you take the foundation of this language we speak. And George Clinton said something once. He said, basically, as long as you got the funk together, you can put whatever kind of meta foolishness on top of it you want to, So, there's no way in the world I would ever consider go-go limited, because that would be saying African language of the drums is limited. We know it's unlimited. Rhythm is unlimited.
You mentioned, go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was going to say it's also like thinking of jazz not as a music but as a mindset. The fact that, basically leaving yourself open to create. And that's what we did. Like, I come from Ohio. I come from like the Dayton funk scene. Like, Ohio Players, Slave, Phaso, all of that. And the thing about Ohio funk is that it leaves a lot of space. There's a lot of holes in it, and that worked perfect with a band like this, because there's so much happening that you really don't need someone to be really busy on bass. You need somebody really just to find the pocket, identify the pocket, and then let everybody else sort of like slide through.
It was interesting what you said, Greg, about the flow. Thank you, Jay. You were talking about the flow of things. How many people, there was a piece in the Washington Post about a week or two about the history of words. I don't know if you guys saw that. And there were 25 or so words that existed before the original languages were developed, and they still exist today. And I didn't remember all of them, but flow, interestingly enough, was one of those words. Which trips me out. My concept of flow seems is current, hip, now, but flow is a concept that's as ancient as we are humans on this planet. Any other questions from the audience?
Hey, how you guys doing? Terry Scott here. Just moved to DC about a year ago. Been a big fan of go-go. 15 years in Fort Greene, 4 years in New Orleans. I guess look for the connection for brass bands and go-go. I guess the question is, now I live in the east of the river, living in Anacostia in Ward 8, and trying to figure out how to use go-go as a continuum of culture and building those bridges. So there was an article in the Post about a month ago about there's a curriculum now on go-go. Do you all who are here feel that there's a possibility of using go-go? Because New Orleans turned the corner with brass band as far as in getting it in the educational system. Do you think go-go got a chance for DC and arts and education?
Yeah, I was just a part of a program that is putting go-go in the DC public school curriculum. So this whole summer we spent teaching the teachers how to teach the go-go. And that's going to be a part of the DC curriculum. And so all of those kind of things. And the problem with all of these things is this go-go has not reached the national acclaim level, that hip-hop. So for example, you hear hip-hop in every music now. You hear every R&B singer starts with somebody rapping now, right? And the hip-hop beat and underneath. And the same thing with, you saw that same thing as reggae was finding its way. And you find that same thing with now the Dirty South sound is in everything. And so it's just a matter to me of, when your music finds its time.
I got one thing to say on that. There's one reason in my mind why go-go has not moved past DC, and it has to do with a level of engagement, and it also has to do with the musicianship that it takes to do it. When you talk about hip-hop and a lot of these other musics, they're not dealing with instruments. They're sampling instruments. So we grew up with instruments. Fortunately, we had Mayor Berry. We had programs, and hey, big ups to Mayor Berry, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, we had Let 'Em Play. That's where I met Ron Sutton Jr. He showed me my first chords on the piano. I met Nat Turner, Mary Jefferson, Maria Sanchez, all these beautiful people who were there to support musicians coming up. So in see, but I think my point is this. We here in DC, fortunately, have been exposed to something that other people around this beautiful country have not. And that's the thing that keeps it from going beyond that. For some reason, people cannot lock into the rhythm. And I think it's a matter of, which is a good thing in one way. That's what keeps it pure to me. That's what keeps it growing here, Once everybody gets a hold of it, then it's actually it becomes defined. I don't think it's as defined as hip-hop is, or, things like that. So what I mean is that when the musicianship level comes up in these other areas and people do want to get into go-go, they'll have to kind of either come here or be exposed to someone who knows the rhythm. So unless you can learn it in a program, I don't know how you're going to get it. So that's what I got to say about that.
And let me add to that brother's question about curriculum, because I'm a writer. When I grew up in DC public schools, Dunbar, Francis, all that. And I was bored out of my mind in all my literature courses, my typing class, everything. Because I belonged to the golden age of go-go, and I couldn't wait to get out that night and get the band practice, and that pocket was in my head, the different versions of that pocket. I became one of those people who photographed in my mind sonically what it looked like and what it sounded like. So I knew immediately, quickly, the difference between the bust and loose beat, rare sentences one-on-one, EU's beat, or Robert Town solo for the bud, etc. So I started to categorize the different patterns and the different gears of the pocket. So that's why I can see the evolution to bounce. But if you think about those things, if you hear go-go and don't just listen to what they're saying, or that you can't enter the song or you don't like what they're saying, but listen to what's beneath it, that conversation between the drummer, the conga player, the cowbell, Donnell and them, Chuck call it locking, but it's a discussion, like Greg said. It's a discussion. And if you listen to the various modes and gears of that, and you start to think about grammar, and that thing I hated in high school, conjugating sentences and conjugating verbs, drums, always the subject. Congas, always the verb. We can go through the whole band. And if we could take that thing, pull it apart, and give it to those individuals in the classroom as that, because everybody born in DC today can go outside right now and step into that, or whatever that beat is. You ain't got to teach that. And it happens in Dickens, it happens in Hemingway, it happens in Ralph Ellison, because it's language. It was the best of the worlds, it was the world. So it's the same thing. So it's your job, though, as a teacher, to listen to them, to go in there and bring it out, not their job to, and that's one of the problems. But you, new man from New Orleans, you got your work cut. You got your work cut out, baby.
But I'm gonna say something about this man here, Thomas Sayers Ellis. I've known Thomas a long time, but when I first meeting we had to talk about this project, he gave me a 100-page manifesto of notes, just like what he just dropped, called Crank-Shaped Notes. And I can't wait for him to publish it because I really feel that, like, in academia, you always need a text. He's giving us the text.
Shout out to Jill Greenlee, who provided a Facebook page so I could do that. We got down and made it happen. They crazy, but we love you.
All exceptional artists, these 5, the other 13 that you saw before. Please give it up for Thomas Sayers Ellis, D. Floyd, Mark Harry, Greg Tate, Jared Nicholson just went out. Jared Nicholson. And we thank you all. We thank you all. And the Kennedy Center for making this happen.